Hi, welcome to Latina Nomad, and I'm super excited today to introduce Edwin. He's a fashion designer that recently launched his own denim company. So, hey.
Hey.
So, do you want to tell him a little bit about your experience that's led to this? Today, we're going to be discussing goal setting. So, actually, before we go anywhere else, you and I had a conversation last year when you were still working with the last company, and a lot was happening, and then you decided you wanted to launch this company, that you wanted to evolve it more because
Right.
you already had it kind of there, right?
Right, since 2012.
Right, and then you decided no more working with anyone else. Let me focus on my own denim company.
Right.
So that was a goal that you set for yourself. So let's talk about what that exact goal was and how that's come together for you.
Basically, it's been tough having a job and trying to work on the side as a designer slash company, basically. So you have to sacrifice whether you're going to work for someone or you have to sacrifice a certain amount of time in your life to focus on something that you actually want to do and execute it. So you can't, I mean, in my experience, you can't do both because it's going to take a lot longer and you're going to get more frustrated with the everyday needs of of the company that you want to build, you know? So, I mean, you either work for a certain amount of time, save money, and then quit your job and do what you want to do, or you don't work and do what you want to do. But you know, it's hard to do it in New York for one, and then it's hard to do it because people basically don't have the patience to do it without getting money, basically.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of people are fortunate to have people to support them while they're doing their dreams, and that's basically one of the best things in life when you have someone that's going to understand what you're trying to do. Like, let's say parents, for example. If you're young and you want to do something with yourself, the best time to do it is when you live at home with your parents, because you don't have bills and you don't have the responsibilities of life, basically, where you have to, no matter what you do, pay cell phones and pay light and pay rent. Those people in those companies, they don't care what's going on in your life. You could be rich and they'll still send you a bill, or you could be poor and they still send you. They probably send you bills more when you're poor. So you have to, the timing is, you have to kind of manage that time and say to yourself, well, I'm 17 or I'm 21, I live with my parents. I'm going to do as much as I can for something that I want to do in life, and then go after it, basically.
So true. So, and it's interesting because you actually set up Blue American Hill Denim Company a while back, right? So do you feel that even though you had the frustrations, that it helped you kind of like plant the seeds and develop a portfolio that helped you get to where you are now? Did that make it easier, or?
Well, the first thing in business is that you have to basically come up with an idea, and as soon as you come up with the idea, you have to research and make sure that that idea is not taken. And obviously, nothing is really new, so your idea has to have
recycled nowadays, right?
Right.
Especially with fashion.
Right, basically. But so you have to, what you have to do is wake up in the morning, say, oh, I had a dream. Let me research if anybody else is doing that dream, and if they did do that, like if it's out there, you have to make a story for it to become different. You know, everything, like when you buy a car, for example, the salesperson is not telling you, hey, the car has 4 wheels like every other car. The salesperson is giving you a story as to why you should buy the car, and that story is what you're buying. You're not really buying the car. I know a few rich people that have Ford Focus, and they say the same thing. I just bought it because it has 4 wheels. The Mercedes has 4 wheels. I'm not gonna spend $150,000 on a Mercedes because it has four wheels. Their story in their mind for a car is totally different from how somebody that never had a Mercedes would take it. You know what I mean? So I woke up, I said, I was working at Ralph Lauren. I said to myself, Ralph is missing something in his business. I'm going to create that for myself.
What was it that was missing?
He doesn't cater to the regular Joe, like
the blue collar.
Right, not so much the blue collar, but he doesn't cater to the lifestyle of the regular people in the cities. Basically, he portrays a dream, like a fantasy. You know what I mean? Somebody with a $500,000 car wearing one on his jacket. You know what I mean? Like, people really don't drive those cars. So when you take photos and you do stuff like that, you're portraying a dream to someone. I want to be a little more realistic and have like the blue collar guy that owns the business drive a nice car, like drive a nice truck, drive, you know, and not just that, but also portray the clothing to be part of their life, which is, you know, they're not going to wear tight jeans, they're not going to wear tight clothes. Maybe I'm wearing a tight shirt, but they're going to be as comfortable as possible because their focus in life is not clothing. It's their job, it's their business, it's their bills, it's their wife, it's their kids. So what Blue Hill's bringing to the industry is the formula of comfort, that they don't have to worry about how they look. You know what I mean? Men usually buy stuff and they're buying it for a reason. You know what I mean? It's not because it looks nice or whatever. So usually when they buy, like, let's say Lee jeans, they're buying it because they think that it's a workwear company.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So they don't really. So Lee in a reaction to the customer, they don't worry about styling that customer. They just worry about the customer feeling like they're buying workwear jeans. So they don't really design into it. They don't put too much thought into it. They say, okay, it's a carpenter. Let's put a hammer, you know, hoop or whatever. What Blue Hill's doing, we're going to basically bring what Ralph Lauren has brought to, let's say, the preppies, and give the the blue collar customer a sense of style without them worrying about putting things together. You know what I mean?
So basically, just being able to work with all these people helped you build your portfolio because you were able to identify what was missing, right?
You know, the company's doing great. You know, they're public and everything, but they're still missing somebody that obviously goes to the store and they don't feel like buying the stuff because it just doesn't like represent who they are. They buy it because other people are using it and they just don't want to feel left out. You know what I mean? But they don't feel like it's part of their lifestyle. You know?
So talk to me about, so when you finally started, because like you said, you started this a few years ago, right? And
right.
It wasn't until last year that you just said, I'm cutting everything off and doing this full force. So when you first started it, did you have a plan set up, like this is what it's going to look like and create the process, or did you just go at the hip and let's just figure this out as we go?
No, it's actually, when I got the idea, that's the second thing that came to mind, was how do I put this together? And then I didn't rush into it. So I kept my job, I worked at other companies, but in the back of my mind, I was taking notes from every different company and basically putting it together to form a system that not only they don't have, but what it's missing, and with that, it created the DNA of the company. You know what I mean? Taking little pieces from everywhere and putting it into one thing. And that's pretty hard because that's like taking everyone in the city and taking every culture and then calling it something. Mm-hmm. It's pretty hard because not everyone in the city, like when you grab the group is going to say, no, I'm Latin, no, I'm black, no, I'm Chinese, and you got to add all this stuff together. It's pretty hard to take from pieces from places and try to match it together. You know what I mean? But I don't know if you need talent for that or you need understanding or common sense, but it's extremely hard, and that's what's been delaying the process into like me just launching the company into the market. You know what I mean? Because I have to make sure that all the pieces fit together, and especially these are pieces that are like I'm making up as I go.
Right.
You know what I mean? I understand where, like, if something doesn't fit, I change it as soon as possible. I don't like force it. I don't try to like readjust it. I don't do any of that stuff. If it doesn't fit, I go on. And the second thing is I don't say no to anyone because I don't know what they're gonna bring. And like, for example, I hired a sales team, and it's hard. I understand that we were late to the market, but what they brought to the table was back end stuff that they didn't actually got hired for. So imagine I would have gotten out, like I would have run out of patience and then fired them, and I would have never gotten the back end stuff. Like I got a backer, I got a lawyer, an accountant. That they're all big people in the industry, and that all came from like one conversation from the sales team.
Oh, awesome! So definitely teaming up is important with the right people.
Yeah, but you have to read between the lines. It's not just like I go and hire somebody and just expect them to do whatever I do. I mean, whatever I want, and then if they don't do it, I fire them. That's not, you kind of have to give some time and space to people. If you hire somebody, and I was saying this to my friend yesterday, if you hire somebody, you got to let them do their job.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You can't just hire somebody and then do the job for them. If you find yourself doing that, then you're wasting your time, and then two, you're wasting your money. Because you can just do it yourself. You know what I mean? Providing tools for them to do their job is your job as a person that owns the company.
Yeah, and you're right, because I see so many micromanagers, and I tell them, you don't realize the only person you're hurting is yourself, because
Right.
How are you going to be growing? How are you going to grow your company or your project or whatever it is that you're doing if everyone's dependent on you? Then you can't go out and do whatever else you need to do.
Right.
That's been the case with Dare to Be. Like, we have so many great volunteers working at the office, running the operations. And like you said, we equipped them with the tools, we gave them what they needed to know, the information, and then let them grow.
Right.
And if they fall on their face, then we help pick them up. But it's not like we're going to shun them out for it. We've got to give them that room to develop and be what we need them to be for the companies, right?
Right.
So let me ask you, how important, because with Latina Nomad, there's 3 pillars, and one of the pillars is about developing business acumen, regardless of the industry, whether you're fashion or an artist or in the medical field, that there's value to having business acumen. What do you think about that as far as like the fashion industry and what you've been doing? How important has your business knowledge been for the growth of your business?
It's been tough because I didn't go to school for business. So, and then as much as I did in FIT, I didn't really, it wasn't much because I already knew how to sew and like all that stuff because my mom was a seamstress when we were younger. But the business has only been from asking a lot of questions and listening to people, listening more than talking, basically. But listening to people and paying attention to their behavior towards certain issues. You know what I mean? Not everyone that comes across an issue when they're doing business reacts the same. You know what I mean? Like, something good could happen when you're in a meeting, but the reaction that the person across the table has tells you that there's something wrong with the success of the company. You know what I mean? So I've been in a situation where we're talking about millions of dollars, but the person that's running the business is just biting its nails. So to me, that shows that like, just because you're talking about millions of dollars doesn't mean that in the back of the office there's no issues. Like what happened was I did ask the guy like, why are you nervous about this order for millions of dollars? And he's like, well, we don't have the capacity to produce that order.
Oh,
so
I remember that, yeah.
Right, so we're going to lose. Like, yes, it's a great thing that we have an order, but if I don't find a factory that could produce the amount of things that let's say Macy's wants, you're gonna lose the business. So.
And that's huge because I've seen a lot of people, they just take
Yeah.
an order or they'll take a project because they're like, this is gonna look great and this
Right.
I could do this, and then they can't fulfill it.
Yeah.
And
That happened to me.
and they lose so much money too.
That happened. This is my third time going out of company. This is my third clothing line that I've done. And the reason is my third is because the first time that I put a company together, the investors that I had, they basically stole it by trademarking it before I did. And they didn't want to share the trademark, so I left that. The second time, I went all out and put a company together where we got orders, we delivered, and then the trademark lawyer comes back and he's like, you need to trash this because you're going to get sued for every single dime you made because someone in Brazil has the same, name for dresses.
What?
It was ridiculous. So I had to trash everything. Even though we had orders and the stores were calling us and they were all happy about it and they loved everything.
Did you say, hey Brazil, do you want this? And I give you a cut since
no,
the order's already there?
the lawyer reached out to them and it was like some fancy designer guy in Brazil that was just
no.
Right, he had no idea what was going on in the United States, but the fact that the lawyer was just like, I didn't go against my lawyer's. Right. He said, just trash it. It's cheaper. You've made some money. Just use that money for something else. You know what I mean? So we trashed it and I moved on. And then 7 years later, 10 years later, Blue Hill came to mind because of some basically epiphany. Did I say that right?
Yeah. And this is huge. So this really leads into what we were speaking about, the whole goal setting and making a concrete plan.
Yeah.
That it could be very expensive to end up not making that plan. It takes more time and it costs you more money not doing that research. So
I did a business plan for Blue Hill and it took me a month and a half to do a business plan because I had no idea what I was doing. But what I was doing was as soon as I researched something, I put it to practice. So in order for you to, what I was, telling my friends and people, that for them to put things to use, as soon as they learn it, you can't just learn, you can't read the whole book without putting every chapter that you're reading to use, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're just a book nerd. You're not a doer, you know what I mean? So what I did was, as soon as I learned something about putting a business plan together, I did it right next to it. So in my computer, if you look at it, there's a business research, and then there's the skeleton of my business plan. So I was, looking back and forth to see if I was right. And then what happened was that I put it to use by sending it to investors and see what they thought of it. And if they come back to me and say, well, this is crazy, this doesn't make any sense, and this sounds like a 7th grader wrote it, then I know I'm making them, and then I know I'm not doing it right. What happens is that you have to do that right away because you don't want to spend too much time on something and then not know that you're doing it wrong, especially if you don't have the education for it, you know what I mean?
And just so you know, and I feel horrible, I didn't tell you this before, but there's actually free services for you to get your business plan done. And so if you go to SCORE, they have free mentors that you could go to. And the second one is the Small Business Development Center. They have them here in New York City. It's at the universities, such as Baruch, Columbia University, Pace University, my alumni, and a few other colleges. So if you look it up, it's on my website, latinanomad.com, but then it's also Google it and you'll be able to find it. And there's amazing people that actually sit with you and counsel you so that you're able to complete that business plan.
But not just that, they also teach you how to speak to people because it's a totally different situation.
So the first phase is getting the plan done. Really breaking it down so that you're able to identify what it is that you're going to offer, what is that going to look like. And then at the same time, the other part is that there's a lot of statistics, like you were saying earlier, right? What's the competition? What does that competition look like? Where are they? Yeah, what's the niche, what's missing? And they help you with all that because Google is Google is an amazing platform, but that's not where all the data is. There's specific databases that cost hundreds and thousands of dollars to gain access to or to download yourself. So these centers, the Small Business Development Center actually has full access to it, and they are able to pull up the reports for you to make sense out of it.
Yeah.
So that's really, really important. And it helps you identify stuff too about other things. Like one thing, I have a client that he ended up creating this, he's an inventor, and he made a product for the fitness industry. And when we went and did all this research, turns out that we learned the different strategies that all these fitness companies have, like sports machines companies. And one of them is known for stealing ideas. And you know that's against it, right? That's against the law. Like it's you can patent if you patent something, technically it's protected. But there's this one company, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's huge in the market, and they will steal the idea from someone, make millions of dollars, and you could sue them. It won't matter.
Well, the reason that it doesn't matter is because by the time you sue them, they made their millions. And the process of suing somebody, you have to send a letter first and say that they need to stop producing whatever it is that they're copying from you, and that takes time. So once your lawyer sends I think it's cis and the cease, what is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they send this letter over, and then their lawyer takes a week to read it because it's stuck in their box or whatever.
But beyond that, it's so expensive. Like they bank on that you, the common person, are not going to have the money to go up against them.
Right. I mean that's
it's an expensive process.
Right. That's something like that. And then, but the process that you have to go through to actually have somebody stop doing what you're doing is. It's so ridiculous, and it's so in their favor because as soon as you get more money to pay your lawyers and they see that it's a threat, all they have to do is just stop it. Mm-hmm. They just have to stop it. They don't return the money to you, or they don't give you the money. They just stop doing it and then go on to the next project, and that's it. So I know a lot of companies that do that stuff, especially in the clothing business.
And this is why it's important for you to make your plan in advance, because what he ended up doing is he actually presented the product to these people, to his competitors, trying to see if they will buy into it. So, and they didn't.
Right.
So, and the thing is, if you take your time trying to find someone else to do it, by the time they did that, they could have already taken your product, added something different to it, and made it their own.
Right.
And that's it.
So it's something I learned at Levi's, right? This is something that nobody knows. First of all, Levi's in San Francisco has real estate. They own real estate, so that's one of their business. And that goes to show you that just because you have $1 billion company, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing other things. Every company does a lot of different things. One of the things that was happening when I was working at Levi's was that every single thing I made, they sent it to the trademark office. So I got hired for a certain thing. So when I did my job, they sent every graphic to the trademark lawyer. And one time they had me take this stuff over to the office. So while I was there, I'm asking the trademark lawyer, what's going on? Why you guys keep sending my stuff up here? And they're like, well, every single thing that all the designers do are being trademarked because Levi's has an actual business suing people. Some of their profit that they don't talk about is basically 40% of this one floor of lawyers suing companies for copying things that Levi's has done. And so because of that, I asked a lot of questions, right? So I'm so what about the jeans that Levi's makes that you go to random stores and you buy them for $20, but Levi's is selling it at $98. What about that? How come they are still in business? And I mean, I don't know if he was going to get in trouble or not, but the lawyer.
Someone under the bus.
Right. So, but the lawyer said Levi's makes those jeans. They actually went and bought the bootleg companies, so they don't have to get bootlegged.
Oh wow.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So years later, fast forward years later, that stood with me, right? So I had the opportunity to do a partnership with someone in China. And the reason that I did that partnership is so I don't get copied in China. So that way, like, you know,
That's
that
what
whole,
I remember you mentioning that.
you know, that whole like keep your enemies
closer.
closer.
Keep enemies
Right.
closer.
So what I did was the first thing I did, I went to my friends in China and I gave them the license to do Blue Hill in China. And that protects me over there, because now the guy has an interest in protecting the brand in China. And it's totally different when you're doing it from the United States. You know what I mean? China's pretty different. So they don't give a fuck about a lot of things. Sorry. They don't care about that. They don't care about a lot of things over there. So it's better for you to have somebody that you sort of trust deal with that side of things.
That's really smart.
Yeah, I mean, that I learned from Levi's, and that has nothing to do with designing. I was at Levi's for designing, so that's what when I mean read between the lines is, if you're going to start a business and you know for a fact that you're going to do it, it doesn't have to be today, but if you think inside of if you feel that you're going to start something, you have to start taking notes every single day of your life, because you don't know what you're going to use 10 years later, you know what I mean?
It's so true. I remember when we started Dare to Be, it was just as a hobby. It was just volunteer work that we love to do. But I started developing new skills. I was working in finance, you know, so I never had to do videos or graphic design or marketing. You know, we had a team that would do that. So all of a sudden I learned all these skills, and I went evolving throughout the last 7 years. So when the opportunity came that we got the lawyers to offer us free services, pro bono, to make it a nonprofit and office space donated on Wall Street, we were like, could we do this? And we were like, yeah. In the last 6 years, all we did was gather the knowledge and the skills to be able to run it. So it's been really exciting to see that organic growth, to have it just happen so naturally. But like you said, you know, if you can't do it right now, think about it. And that's why I tell people, you have to create a lifestyle plan. A lifestyle plan is basically you deciding, how do I want my life to look? Not saying, oh, you know, I just random things, but what kind of lifestyle do you want, and how much is that going to cost you to get there? And then what is that going to look like for you? And being able to create those little steps towards it. What are your skills that you're going to develop to do that? You know, what are the people that you're connecting with? What platforms do you need to be on? And then organically it'll just come on its own for when you're ready to just execute it. You've already built the network, you've already developed the skills that you need for it, and then you're able to just make it happen, versus I'm gonna do this now and I don't know anything about it and I'm just gonna go, you know, and then what? So that's awesome.
But I mean, people can't, it's nerve-wracking when you think about so many different things and then you feel like overwhelmed because you don't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
The start is to pick something that you're mostly comfortable with and then go after that. If you down the road you feel like going from like clothing designer to like movie director, you have to make sure that you understand the clothing business first before you move on to the directing. And then in the middle of that, you have to just collect little data from here, you know, from different angles. But usually, to become a director, you just have to execute things. That's it. You don't need to learn how to use the camera. You don't need to learn how lights work. You just gotta learn how to manage people and execute your ideas. If you couldn't do that as your clothing ideas or whatever it is, then you can't be a director, really. You know what I mean? Or you could be a director by telling people what to do, but it's going to be so hard for somebody to respect you because you don't have any background on putting things together. It doesn't matter what it is. You could put together, you know, a dog shop, and you thought of yourself as a clothing designer. You know what I mean? It's just, you have to just execute things before you move on to the next thing. So what I would say is that if whoever has an idea for something or like a dream, learn how to execute things first before you start doing 100 things. Like last time I was having a conversation with this video director and he calls me and he says, I want to put together a marketing company. And I'm like, for what? Well, I want to brand out. I want to, get clients and I want to help them do branding and all this stuff. And I'm like, for what though? Like, I don't understand why would you take that responsibility on yourself to make someone else successful? That doesn't make any sense. And he's like, well, because I've dealt with AT&T and I'm like, break down AT&T for me. Like, what did you do for AT&T that AT&T needed to call you for? They have millions. They just bought a network. Like, what is it that they needed you for? He's like, well, they were doing this other thing, and it was kind of like a branch of AT&T, but it wasn't. So I'm like, don't use AT&T if you're gonna say that it's a branch from somewhere else or whatever. Then they needed video. You know what I mean? That wasn't the point. The point is that he comes back and he's like, well, because I worked there, it made me feel like I needed to help people brand out stuff. And I'm like, do you understand the responsibility that it is that you have to help somebody brand their company? First of all, if you can't brand your work, you cannot brand somebody else's stuff. Yeah. It's just impossible for you to go and say, I'm going to take care of your Instagram account if you don't have 1 million followers on yours.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense because you live with that account. You are that account, and if you can't make yourself get let's say 100,000 followers, you can't do it for somebody else. It's going to be so much harder. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I told them, just since you have the tools to do video and all that stuff, just focus on creating content. Offer clients to create content for them. Not branding, not all that stuff. Create the content, give it to them, and let them do what it is that they want to do with it. If they want to branch out and do branding and all that stuff with the content you gave them, that's their job. But don't take it upon yourself to do that for them. It's the same amount of money basically. You could charge $10,000 to create content and $10,000 to brand. It's the same shit. You know what I mean? Sorry. It's that Trump, man. That Trump guy, that influence.
So, no, but you're right. You're absolutely right. I think that's been when I've worked with people, that has been the biggest thing where they're like, oh, and even with freelancers, right? Because I've worked with so many freelancers, and it's interesting that, oh, I just do anything. Even to hone in on your website. Right. It's like, your website can't have everything. Hone in on one thing, because once your clients build a rep with you, they're going to want everything from you. I have a college buddy. She's a lawyer. And that's what she does. And she hones in on that. She does, the law services for celebrities, the industry, but she also does business law. Those are her two niches. But guess what else she does? She does marketing for her clients, because since they're already there, but it's not what she puts on her website. That's not what she's
right. That's sort of what I do.
But because the clients already have such a strong relationship with her, and she has this amazing background, working, being a news journalist and marketing, and she's also been an artist herself. So she knows all these things that add value. She also knows business strategy. So together they're like, hey, can you help me with that? And they start, paying her for those different services.
Yeah, I've been in
But for them to hone in on it, it's really hard for people because they're just worried about getting paid.
Right.
And that's why I tell them, think about your lifestyle, because I just had a girlfriend, and she was like, she's so amazing, really successful, just got her digital marketing degree, master's degree. And she comes and tells me, I need a second job. And I was like, okay, what are you gonna do? Right? But listen, I was like, what are you gonna do? She goes, I'm gonna go waitress. And I was like, waitress? You've established businesses in Asia, South America, and you're gonna go waitress? And you just got a master's degree in digital marketing? I was like, how does that work? I said, talk to me what's happening. So she lives in Brazil. Mm-hmm. And Brazil is, the cost of living skyrocketed. And the salaries haven't.
Or just
She lives in Sao Paulo.
Okay.
So the cost of living has skyrocketed, and the salaries haven't, they've stayed stagnant.
Right.
And I was like, okay, so you just got this degree. We had just spoken about how she took the company and was able to increase sales because of her digital marketing strategy. And the plans that she set forth. I said, why don't you take everything, break it down to what you're doing for this company now, then cross everything off that you don't like to do, and focus on the things that you do like to do.
Right.
That, and then look at the ones that'll make you the most money, and offer that to other companies that need the same thing, that need to be able to increase their sales. And the hours that she would be spending on waitressing instead would be converted into more money with her doing this digital marketing for other companies on a freelance basis.
Mm-hmm.
And also she's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I didn't think of that. And she got so excited. So she's gonna make a lot more money than she thought she needed to make. You know, she knew what her numbers had to be. But you're right, everyone's like, I'll just do anything just to get it. And that's the biggest mistake. So
Yeah.
the plan is so essential for that.
It sounds like, in your head, it sounds like there's open doors for those things, but there isn't. A lot of these companies, and especially the CEOs, if you do speak to them, they see departments basically. So if you come into the door and you go into a conference room with a CEO, and every single day of his life he's dealing with departments, you know, the marketing department, the sales department, he's not gonna see or understand someone that could do everything.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't see that every day. You know what I mean? So when you walk into some place, like for example, when I go talk to any CEO at a company, that person sometimes know me, sometimes they don't know me, but the CEOs that do know me, they call their entire company to the room so they can listen to every single thing I say. So every department has something to pick from the things I say.
Knowledge you share.
Right, you know what I mean? So when I tell them, when I go into the company and I'm like, well, yeah, I'm going to design the collection for you, but where are you going to place it? Where are you going to do this? So I'm starting to ask marketing questions and all that stuff. So now the marketing director is sitting there and he's like, well, we usually deal with GQ. Well, then I don't need to design ties because GQ is obviously dealing with denim right now. You know what I mean? They're not doing a segment on ties, so I don't need to design ties. There's just all these things, and then what happens is that the CEO is happy because this one person is giving all his department's ideas to build from. You know what I mean? But I don't advertise that. I don't say that call me into your office, I'm gonna tell everyone what to do. I don't do that. I went in there to have a conversation about collections, but I take it so serious that every single thing I do, I want to know where it goes. I don't just give it. I don't just sell this stuff. I kind of nurture it and make sure that it grows. And the way I do that is behind the mind, basically. That sounds like a pretty good show.
Oh my goodness.
You know what I mean? Like behind the mind, meaning like I tell the creative director of a company, like, listen, you should try to do this, and let him run with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not gonna.
It's like planting the seeds, basically.
Right. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh, it's my credit. I know it's my credit because I told him.
Yeah.
I don't need half New York to know that it is. The CEO understands that I was there for certain reason.
You're right. So definitely part of what we're learning today is part of the goal setting process is definitely creating a plan.
Right. That is part of the goal.
Yeah.
Like if you talk to yourself and you write down what you would tell a company to do, then you should do it for yourself.
Yes.
You know, take your own advice.
Yeah, that's key because so many people just say, I want to do this, and they start first. And it was interesting because I was speaking to someone, they were like, "You're in step 9," because I was saying about what we were going to do for the services, and they were like, "You're in step 9 and you haven't figured out how you're going to get paid yet." I was like, well, we can't figure out how we're going to get paid yet if we don't know what services we're providing.
Right.
We have to be able to know what we're going to provide to people, how's that going to look, so that then we're able to figure out, okay, this has to be this or whatever it is, but people want to start with, oh, let me do the logo, let me do this, let me do that, but you haven't done your plan. You don't know what's already out there.
It's almost like they are a waiter. You know, when the waiter comes in, they're like, "Oh, you want steak? Oh, we have a great wine for that steak." And like they upsell you. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people don't want to be upsold. So it's easier to create a plan where you're like selling one thing, but at the same time you're telling the customer what they should do with it. And from that comes other things. from telling, like, giving them the idea of what to do with the plan. If you're creating a logo for someone, you need to design the logo only, and then after you sell the logo, you tell them, like, maybe you should use it for only Instagram, and then make another logo for Facebook. And now you have two projects, because now the guy's like, that makes sense. I'm going to create another logo for Facebook, or whatever it is, or whatever, you know. The upsell has to be in the same aspect, or it's just not gonna work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and simple things such as, you know, people will be like, oh, I need a logo, so they hire the person for the logo, but then it's like, do you have a branding strategy, right? Like, how are you gonna use this logo, whatever it is, to be able to diversify your services? So let's go back to when you started this year. What were your resolutions when you started this year besides the business? Did you set New Year's resolutions when you started the year?
Yeah, just stop spending money.
You failed on that one?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. 2016 was so. I mean, it brought Trump, right?
We're not gonna get political on this platform at all. But so do you have New Year's resolutions for 2017? It's December.
I do actually. I put a calendar together for production and the collection, and we're going into market for winter 17 in February, and that's like around the corner. So everything that I'm doing every single day, like you said, the lifestyle has to be that. Like, I just live and breathe the collection right now. I have to shoot, like I have to direct a TV show, a series soon, which is ridiculous because that kind of was like by accident. I was just sitting there telling the executive producer, you know, some pointers of what it is, how I see TV, and then all of a sudden I get a phone call and she's like, well, would you like to just direct it because you have good ideas? And
just so people know, he's actually done video direction before, like he's produced videos in the past for major media outlets, so. But so that's exciting. But that's
it's
kind
not
of like
what
cutting into your
no,
plan,
but what I was going to get to is that even though I have to direct a series, a comedy, the only thing in my mind when I wake up is the collection that's due in February. So if I see any issues in my main goal, I would tell the executive producer that I can't do it. Like, you know, she has to move it up to March or whatever it is. She can't film. We can't film within the period that I have to finish my goals, because then it's just going to be all over the place. So I'm listening to her. I still go to meetings, but every single day that I wake up, I think about the clothing.
Are you going to put your clothing line into?
Yeah, of course. That's why I do these things.
So yeah, it's like always like, right, if it makes sense if it aligns with what you're doing, then it totally makes sense. It's like, let's plug it in. Yeah, that, you know.
But that's also part of the goal list. You know what I mean? Like, you have to set goals to what it is you want to do with the stuff that you want to do in your life. You know what I mean? Even if you're just a normal person and you're not a designer and you're not this, you still have to set goals in your life. You can't just like walk around the earth like not knowing what you're doing.
But not just goals, it's more than that, right? Where they set goals and make a plan with it. How is that going to look, right? Like breaking it down to what the process is. What am I going to do? Setting those milestones so that we're actually committed to it.
Right. I know.
And seeing it through.
I have a few friends that want to do like traveling, right? For example. And every single summer they set out to go conquer something. You know what I mean? Like they want to travel to LA, so they drive. And the next summer, so if you go to their house, they have this like huge map with like strings all over it. And every single thing that's on the map, they have photos for it. Like they went skydiving in Arizona. They did this in another place. In Ohio, they went to like a peanut shop or whatever. But those are that's goals that has nothing to do with business. They're not gonna bring
personal or professional thing is just setting a goal and seeing it through and setting a plan for it.
So now here I come, right? And I'm like, you guys should turn that map into an app. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, the way I see it from the outside is that I want to experience what you guys are doing, but but I don't have the money and I don't have this and I don't have that. So if you provide that type of information to me, it would probably push me to go do the same thing you guys been doing. You know what I mean? And you have to sort of do it in a fun way. You know, they have become professionals in traveling. That's like a professional thing for them now to travel. Like they invested like on backpacks that are like $800 just to like put food in it. You know what I mean? Like it's
traveling is a serious thing.
It's a crazy thing.
You have to cook yourself right for traveling.
Oh my god, it's a crazy thing.
So what other New Year's resolutions goals do you have for the new year?
That's it.
That's the only one?
I mean, I want to lose weight, but it's just...
Ideal. Lose weight story.
Yeah, everybody wants to lose weight. But it's just, it's not as important as
How did
getting...
that PX90 go?
I have to do it again. The box is right there.
That box has been sitting there for who knows how long. At least you carry it around with you.
Right, yeah, it reminds me that I have
to gone with you through your travels.
It's like a reminder.
So what do you think is making you fail on accomplishing that goal?
What?
The losing weight goal. Because you
I just don't want to. When people say...
You always talk about it, but you say you don't want to, but you always talk about wanting to. So why...
No, there's two things. There's people out there that are going to tell you that they want to do stuff, but their actions is not going to do it. You know what I mean?
But you've been talking about wanting to lose weight.
No. So I could tell you that I want to get fit and I want to lose weight and I do want to do that. But if I don't wake up in the morning and do it, I don't want to.
So basically, at the end of the day, the reason you haven't reached your goal is because it's not really in you at the end of the day.
Right. It's I just don't want to really, you know. And people miss out on being honest with themselves. When they tell themselves that they want to do something and it doesn't happen, it's because they really don't want to do it. You know what I mean? So wanting to get this collection done for February is what I really want to do. Losing weight is something that I tell myself. It's like a lie that I just tell myself, but at the end of the day, I know how honest I am with myself, and I know that I don't want to lose weight. You know what I mean? That doing this collection is way more important than losing the weight. You know what I mean? Even though I do get like my PR person telling me you have to lose weight because you're doing crazy interviews and you look retarded on TV. You know what I mean? Sorry,
fashion.
not retarded.
It's fashion, right? Like,
it doesn't go with the...
You have to have the image of fashion.
Yeah,
you know? You're like, but I'll go for the grunge image. It's okay.
Right, so that's why I just drank an espresso this morning and that was it. I didn't eat anything.
Oh, but you can't starve yourself either.
Oh, no.
So what about, that's interesting. I think that, big thing with goal setting is finding that balance, right? Where it can't just be all work. So... Are you just at work right now, or are you trying to find the balance, or?
Well, I don't know. I think my balance is more I'm so obsessed with getting these goals done that everything around me has to be part of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It has to be, like, if I'm going to go hang out somewhere, it has to be part of, like, I have to get some type of education towards what I want to do in life. Mm-hmm. So there's so many options, right? Let's say you want to do marketing for a living, right? Every single thing you do, it doesn't have to be boring, but it does have, I feel like it has to educate you somehow towards your goal. You know what I mean?
Towards your goal.
Right. So if you want to do marketing for the rest of your life, and your friend calls you and tells you, hey, let's go drink at this bar, you in your mind have to be in control and say, let's go to this bar that I sort of learned how they do marketing. So you go to that bar. Let's say what's a cool bar? I don't know. You go to a bar. Jasmine invited me to one.
Bob's.
No, that bar by the river.
Oh, that's
that
the
has like
Pier
that
one.
huge, huge history stuff, right?
Yeah, that's the one by the Statue of Liberty, Pier 7-4 or something like that.
Right.
I've been there with her. Yeah.
So the only reason I really went over there is because she said there's a lot of vintage stuff in here. Yeah. So in Blue Hill, I want to use vintage stuff. So to me, hanging out with her for a couple of hours, because I basically just went to pick her up from work because I was around in the area. But when she told me there was a lot of vintage stuff, it was more attractive to me to go hang out with her because I learned about all these things that the
So
the
now
bar
you know
has
if you're
inside.
friends with him, just tell him there's a vintage thing going on and he'll be there. If you haven't seen him in a while, that's how you're gonna get him.
No, but I got two things for one. You know, I added
Yeah.
to my research by hanging out with her.
Yeah.
But if you go hang out with someone, or you go and not waste your time, but if you're gonna have fun, make it a educational fun day, basically,
Yeah.
where you're going to add into the things that you want to do in life. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. But just don't lose yourself. Find a balance.
Yeah,
Don't
that is my bad.
don't not be healthy. Like not just having coffee. You crazy?
No,
You have to have a strong core to be able
that's
to.
probably why I'm talking so much right now.
You know? But you definitely have to have a strong core. Don't lose yourself in the midst of the goals that you set for it. Like definitely try to find a way to be healthy, and even if it's not losing weight or working out, but building your core by making sure that it's fed right, that it's sleeping right. Like there's a sleep deficit, and there's so many other things. Like I just found out that if you're not sleeping right, you could actually end up having seizures later on in life.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I was like, what? So let me tell you, my sleep is so much more precious now.
Yeah, no. I also learned that the lights from the ambulance, they give me like tiny seizures. So that kind of doesn't make any sense. You're passing by them, you're getting a seizure, but they are there to help you.
But sleep, eating well, keeping healthy, that has to be part of the plan that you create. Because without your strong core, you're not going to be able to accomplish anything. So we're going to wrap up. So tell me what's the one tip you would give people that it's December, they're going to start setting New Year's resolutions. So what would be the one piece of advice that you would give them?
I mean, if they're not like as obsessed as I am with goals, I think they should write everything down that they want to do, put it to use, and then figure out what they feel comfortable doing. You know what I mean? Like, it's a dream to be a marketing person. It's a dream to be in advertising. It's a dream to be a singer. But if you don't have a good voice, you can't do it. You know what I mean? What you could do is, like I was telling my other friend, what you could do is be in that environment. If you want to be a singer and you don't have the voice for it, get into the music business. You know, become a producer. Do accounting for music. There's so many things to do. You don't have to be the singer. You know what I mean? You could be the producer. You could be the executive producer. You could be so many things that it has to do with that environment. That's what I have been doing. When I was 17, I got an internship at a magazine as a fashion stylist. From that, we went to do music video because it was the same thing. I was dressing people up. For the music video, I was dressing people up. But it intrigued me to be a director because they were so cool. You know, like Hype Williams. When he walked onto the set, everyone wanted to hear what he had to say because he was driving the car basically. You know, so what I did was I started asking questions, but I never left my job. I never stopped doing what I was doing what I did was I made sure that I was in that environment so I could learn as much as possible from Hype William, from different people, you know what I mean? So then when I was ready, and not that I went out and said I want to be a director, but when I was ready, I mean like the job was there and I was at the right place at the right time. And someone offered me to be a director because of the ideas that I have. And it came from knowing the language of directors, being around that environment. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, I usually just tell people, like, if you're going to do something, try to learn the language first, and then, you know, be around it all the time. And
I remember starting like that. You know, when I was young, I didn't know what industry I wanted to be in. I actually went to college for computer technology.
That's why I'm telling you, we should do it now.
So I actually went to college for computer technology, and I was like, oh, I like this. And then I said, you know what, let me not go to school right now and figure out what I want to do. And I went to different industries. So I actually went to central booking to learn about the law field. But when I was there, I was asking everyone about their jobs, you know. And then I finally got into the corporate world, and I loved the organized chaos.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved
that came from all these
the
other places.
organized chaos. I absolutely loved it, and I said, this is where I want to be. And you know, just started asking everyone else about their jobs and saying, hey, I know this is my job and I'm gonna do it, and I kept doing it. But I said, you know what? If you take 5 minutes to show me what you're doing, I'll take that off your plate and you can do something else. And they were like, oh, who's not gonna take you up on that offer, right? Like, what?
Yeah.
You're gonna take something off my plate so I could do more work? That's fantastic.
Right.
So I started evolving more and more. Before you know it, I got into operations and project management. And turns out that's what was huge for me to be able to develop my volunteering, which then turned out into us establishing this nonprofit on Wall Street. So it's been exciting, and now with us doing, you know, the strategic planning and stuff, it's been super exciting to see all those skills come together,
Yeah.
to be able to actually help others. And one of the big things we do with our kids is we do career development, and we take them to different places to learn about careers just so they can see. Because a lot of our kids in the homeless shelters think, what am I going to do? I'm not good in school, you know, and I'm not smart enough, or I'm poor, or, you know, it's a cycle. My mom's been in it, my grandma's been in it, so I'm just going to be in it, and I just got to learn how to work the system. But through us, they realize that's not the case.
Yeah, they're exposed
seeing
to more
regular
things.
people like you and I that are doing things, or traveling the world, or building businesses, they get so excited. They're like, wait, I could actually do something. And I remember we have a book author. He actually has a book out this Christmas called The Book of Crinkle. He went last year with the kids, and he's reading the book, and then they did the career discussion, and they're talking about his job as a writer and a movie producer. And one of the kids was like, what if I can write right? And he goes, that's what editors are for. And the kid was like, what? He's like, yeah, your job is just to be creative. So just go to school to learn how to be creative and to put your thoughts together, and the editor will fix it. And for the kids, that was like, oh, so I don't even need to be perfect at it, but like you said, just learning about those different jobs and the different opportunities and how to go about it and how you could diversify is going to be huge. So don't lose hope in setting your goals. If you think it's so far away, just start with how can you develop yourself to get to where you want to get to. You know, and just figure out, start with just what's the lifestyle you want, and then work from there with what you have and what you're willing to develop in that process.
And sometimes you have to trade in the paycheck for knowledge, for experience. You can't always charge somebody for something that you're okay on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, volunteering is huge, and especially in New York City, there's so many volunteer opportunities. You'd be amazed, and that's how we started with J2B, that we actually had no intentions of ever building a nonprofit. We really just loved volunteering and wanted to create something more exciting for us. So we went to the nonprofit and said, hey, how can we help you help with what we want to do and what you guys have going on? And they're like, oh, that's fantastic. And they take you on, and they help you do the things and help you develop the skills. So don't be afraid to offer help for someone, because people will always be there to help you. And to ask for mentorship. Mentorship is huge, you know, I think with the development process, where they're mentoring you, but you're gaining the skills, the network to be able to do what you want to do in the future.
yeah, I still talk to my mentor.
Yeah, me too. I have like amazing mentors, men and women that...
Actually, the funny thing is that my mentor, I was able to how do you say, I was able to come back around and give him a deal. Whole big service. So now
it's an investment in the people that, you know...
The weirdest thing is that in a way, I'm kind of his boss now.
Oh wow!
So it was just it's not really so much of a boss, but I'm more in charge of the project that I brought to him.
That's awesome.
So I'm the one calling him and telling him not to be late, and like sort of just like mentally, and like, because I learned so much through the time that from when I met him to now, that I now know the language and he doesn't. You expanded your knowledge,
and then you're sharing it back.
Right.
So don't underestimate. I think if we leave with anything here today, it's, in addition to everything else, build a plan, break it down to what it's going to look like,
Put it to use.
Put it to use. Get a team together that supports you in what you're doing in your vision and seeing it through. Establish the operations for it, and really try to understand what it is that you're getting into as well. And then finally, don't underestimate the power of mentorship. Score free mentorship for people. If you want to go to score.com, I think it is. And they're all over the U.S. and really amazing services.
Yeah, learn, and I think one of the most important things is to learn and adjust, like as soon as possible.
Oh, be adaptable. If you're not
Right.
adaptable, you have no business pursuing something on your own.
Right.
Because
you have to learn and adjust right away.
And not trying to be the boss all the time, because that's not going to work either. Like
Yeah.
I tell people, I have so many bosses at the office. We have a staff of 12.
Every client is a boss.
Oh yeah.
Every
Your
client is a boss.
My clients are little children, and they are all my bosses. We go in every year to review them and say like, what's going on, and we're like, okay, we have to improve this, and that's how we ended up developing so many programs.
Yeah.
But it's amazing, you know. So don't doubt yourself. Give yourself the opportunity. Start with just envisioning the lifestyle that you want, and then start breaking it down with how that's going to come together with what you have to offer, or with what you're willing to develop to offer. Okay. So thank you so much. Should we say that? Ciao, everybody. See you in the next one. Tomorrow we're going to be meeting with Elva, who is a marketing director actually, and an amazing mom who has actually found a balance between having her career, being this incredible mom, and still living her life, which is full of dancing and traveling the world. So stay tuned for tomorrow at 3 with
I want to watch that.
Yeah, she's amazing. All right, thank you so much. Ciao, everybody.